Hi, I'm Val Sabicki, and tonight I'm going to speak with a popular area person, Mr. Jerry Breslin. Widely known for his interest and work in the sporting field, Mr. Breslin provided colorful and informative commentary as our public address announcer during the Mount Carmel Area High School football games. Mr. Breslin, I know you were an instructor at the Mount Carmel High School and involved in many high school sporting activities for many years. Actually, how long were you affiliated with the school district as an instructor?
I started teaching in Mount Carmel in 1934 after having spent, I graduated from Bucknell in 31, but in those days you couldn't get a job teaching right away, so I worked in the mines for 3 years. And in 1932 I had my first experience with organized sports when Mount Carmel Catholic High decided to have a football program. And I was drafted to be coach. I coached there 2 years, and in 1934, I came over to Mount Carmel High School when they had a big changeover in teachers. That was before they had tenure, and they just released about 30 teachers because of the change in political affairs. And I secured a position as a teacher and was assigned to be assistant coach in cross country and track to a very fine gentleman named Bill Yeager. He is actually responsible for starting the cross country program in Mount Carmel. He stayed here 2 years and then moved on to the prep school division of athletics out in Michigan, and I took over as a cross country and track coach in 1936 in both sports. Being associated then with their program until I retired in 1973, having reached the fine retirement age of 65.
Mr. Breslin, I understand you're the track coach here at Mount Carmel, and most likely one of the best in the area. Can you give us a little insight on your coaching career?
Well, probably the thing that is most memorable about our coaching, my coaching career here in Mount Carmel's coaching, Mount Carmel's success during this period was due not only to me, but I think the basic reason for the success of the program was the cooperation we always received from the football people. The football coaches always felt that their athletes should have something to do in the spring, and to try to quicken up the reflexes, they saw to it that boys went out for track. In the beginning, I had no assistant, no help, but then gradually I was given people to help. One of the first being Bill Hodrick, who then later after the war went to Williamsport as a teacher. And Joe Ambrose, the football coach, was the weight coach for a while. Then in later years, I acquired coaches like Franny Menapace for a while, but he moved out of the district. The long-time best coach, best assistant I had was Glenn Mangus, who came here from Colt Mountain about 1942 and remained until he retired a year before I did. He took over the weights and had a terrific amount of success with them. And then Lenny Warner came in as a coach and took over the weight events. Mr. Dimnick came in and helped with our program for a while. But all in all, the success of our program is due to such factors as the cooperation of the football people and the fine programs that we were able to set up. And not only that, but the great number, the difference I find between coaching then and coaching now is in the number of people that would report. It was not uncommon for us to have squads of 75 and 80 out for a track program. And in that period of time, one of the things we are quite proud of is that we never cut anyone. In track, they took care of themselves. They cut themselves, and we'd after them to try and come back, and sometimes they would just see the futility of it. But we had a very successful program. And during there was a period there from 1943, we started to have unusual success in dual meets. and we went for a period of 30 years without losing a dual meet. Now, of course, we lost triangular meets, and in multiple meets involving 10 and 11 and 12 schools, we sometimes went out first. We may have been second or third. And in some relay meets, we didn't always win them. For instance, at the Penn Relays, we took teams down, and although we won 4 times, we won the mile relay 4 times in our division, we were very, very happy with the program that was set up. When I retired in '73, Joe Dim took over and continued the program and did very well. We had, while I coached, we had lost 2 meets before that series began. We lost a dual meet to William Penn of Harrisburg and another one to Williamsport. But it took schools of that size to come in and defeat us. We had a fine group of athletes.
Every spring near the end of track season, Mount Carmel hosts the Jerry Breslin Relays. Would you please explain what they are and how they came to be?
Well, you know, just about every weekend there is a big track program, big track meet in some areas. And for quite a while, Williamsport conducted a relay program on the, at this particular time, the first weekend in May. And without notice, in 1968, they terminated that program, and it left schools without a meet. So I went to Mr. Mangus, and we worked out a quick program, and we started it. We called it the Mount Carmel Relays, and we brought in about 10 teams, 5 from the Susquehanna Valley and 5 from the Schuylkill League, and we had a very fine meet, and that went on for about 5 years until I retired. And then when I quit, the couple of the school directors thought it'd be nice if they would name the relays after me. And that is unusual because relays are usually commemorative affairs. In other words, you have to die first and then have something named after you. And I'm fortunate that I can go down and see these teams. A humorous thing happened one night at these relays. A girl leaned over to a person in front of them and she said, "How long has this Jerry Breslin been dead?" And the fellow said, "Well, you see the guy with the red cap down there?" He said, "He didn't die yet." So I was able to appreciate the fact that I can see these things, and I hope long before I have to depart from this fine earth. And they have continued now for about 15 years, and it's a very successful program, and that we are been able to get these teams to come in and run these relays.
Along the same lines, you also established a very impressive career as a coach of cross country. As head mentor, you brought many teams into championship ratings. Could you reminisce a little?
Well, the cross-country program never took over in the coal regions because most of the time the teams are always just interested in football, and cross-country is a fall sport. So they would just concentrate on football and not have any running. So therefore, in order to keep our distance men in shape, I went over in the Susquehanna Valley and encouraged several men in that area to get a cross-country program started. I was lucky to pick up interest from a man from Berwick named Bill Heller and another one from Bloomsburg, Ed Simchick. And Simchick is still coaching in Bloomsburg. And we gradually added teams like Milton and Central Columbia and Selinsgrove, and we built up that cross-country league till it then became the Susquehanna Valley Cross Country League. In the meantime, coaches in the coal regions were quite concerned with the fact that their distance men weren't getting any training, and so when they found out the reason for it, that they didn't have a good cross-country, didn't have a cross-country program, they became interested in starting one. And we then shifted. About 2 years ago, Mr. Rothamel and Mr. Santos saw the wisdom in moving our cross-country program into with the same teams that we have our track programs, namely the Schuylkill County League, and we have become associated with that. And the success of our program in that league is quite evident, basically because they have been able to get more people out. They are able to get more, you have to start with numbers. And we feel that if the same thing happens in track, if they can persuade more people to go out for the track program, we'll have continued success in track. Of course, I realize now that there are more things for people to do at 4 o'clock. In the old days, they just you didn't go out of school and jump in a car because no one had a car. The most popular kids were the athletes. And now the most popular kid is the one that has his father's car, maybe his own car. And that's pretty tough competition for the athletic people. So we had built up a fine athletic program in cross country, and we had won a number of league meets, league championships, particularly in the late 60s. And I don't want to mention names because as soon as I begin to mention one name, I'm going to forget some names, and I don't want to offend people. They realized, that people that were in these programs realized how important they were to the program, and just feeling, just reminiscing over the years with these people, they'll know that just how much they contributed. It was a great series of years we had. And I think that when I retired, I think our program, we had 160 victories in cross country.
You were a PIAA official, which gave you a different insight on sports. What must an individual do to become an official?
Well, you were PIAA official in football. I became interested in football when I didn't have too much to do in the fall of the year outside of coaching cross country. I became interested in coaching officiating. And the thing you have to do is, first of all, have quite an interest in football, and also to be any kind of a successful coach that puts the time in, you have to have a very understanding wife who is going to tolerate your absence from the fireside. And all the same thing goes in football officiating, because when you go to a football game, it isn't a case of just arriving there and get the game started. Schools demand that you're at the high school an hour before the game. You might be officiating in Harrisburg, or we go all the way to York or Lancaster and places. And that took several hours going in the game and coming back. And actually the financial gains were not that great. If you didn't have a real desire to get involved, it was foolish for you to become a football official. So the thing you have to do now to become an official is get the rule book, study it, and then you take a test based on your knowledge of the rules, and gradually you become involved in JV games or Little League games, JV, and then you begin to work at a high school level and get to the point where you feel confident enough to handle games.
In all of your experience, do you have a most memorable experience?
Well, probably there are different areas where we felt so happy about different things happening. And I remember the first time we won the mile relay championship at the Penn Relays. That was in the mile. We always took only a mile relay team to Penn. And we had gone down there a number of times, and we had won 4. There are 4 big plaques around here, if we locate them, that represent our victories in the mile relay at Penn. And then probably from a team standpoint, we always stress team championships more than anything, was when we got strong enough in the 60s to come back to win the district championships from big schools like Williamsport. And the boys that were involved in those programs were the ones that really helped bring athletics track to a fine point in our successful high school, Mount Carmel High School programs.
This year, our football fans heard your voice over the public address system at the high school football games. During the games, you explained the calls and added some color commentary with your off-the-cuff humor. The commentary was most enjoyable and definitely informative. How did you become involved with sports announcing?
The way I got involved is basically in a very informal way. Ed Romance had the radio station for a number of years, and he conducted these interviews, or probably conducted the game programs, and they got to the point where Joe Cheddar was helping him. And then Mr. Romance died, and after Joe was up there in the booth alone, he saw me down sitting in the watching the game, and he called down and asked me to come up, and I went up in the booth with him and helped him on the first game, and I liked it a whole lot. And then when Mr. Donlan took over the station, he just fit in, and I went along basically interpreting penalties and also keeping statistics. And then this year, Mr. Donlan, and that experience Mr. Cheddar and I got was terrifically valuable to us in conducting programs and sports programs. And then Dave went to a game, what he called a game of the week, in which he picked out the game that he thought was going to be most important. And sometimes it involved North Schuylkill, and sometimes Shamokin or Lourdes. And we felt that we would like to, that we were basically Mount Carmel fans. And actually, we intended to go back to the old system we used to have of taking our wives to the games. And then the afternoon of our games, in order to relax one of the coaches, Mr. DeFrancisco, Joe and I take him golfing over to Jepco's. And when we were playing before the first game, Joe Cheddar said to me, you know, Mr. Warner called me and asked me if we'd go on the PA system tonight, and I told him we would. So that's when I found out about it, on the third hole at Jepco's. And we came back, and Mr. Cheddar is the real brains behind the program. I'm only the voice. All I do is say some things or interpret some plays. And you can't force humor. In other words, if you continue to talk and try to explain the game continually, you'll get like some other unpopular TV commentators. It's best to give the fans credit for being able to see things and look at the scoreboard occasionally and see what's going on. And we have a very fine relationship there, and Mr. Cheddar tells me what to say, and when there's a critical play comes up, we cannot anticipate penalties, or we can't call penalties until we see a flag go down. Now, we sometimes see something happening on the field, like an emotion or a clip, but we can't say, hey, there was a clip or there was an offside, because that would be a little unethical to try to go over the head of the men who are on the field working the game. So we wait until we see the flag go down, and then if we feel as though it needs an explanation, we go ahead and talk about it. But it's basically a question of just wait and see. And our fans are terrifically cooperative. Of course, they are interested in our team. Who wouldn't be interested in our team this year with the fine bunch of kids we have? This is what you might call a no-name team, particularly the line. there are no outstanding linemen in there. There are some backs that have played before and have gotten some recognition, but basically the games are won in the trenches. And this team came along under the superb coaching, I think, of a fine group of men in Mr. Dimnick and Mr. DeFrancisco and Joe Aronsfield and Mike Samichik and Bruce Wansley and anyone else that got involved in the program. They have done a terrific job with these bunch of boys, and they have fine results to show for it. I don't think anyone anticipated us being 10-1 at this time of the year. And the only team to beat us is the small addition of the Pittsburgh Steelers that play under the name of Berwick, that have been able to dominate high school football in this area, and maybe we'll get another crack at Berwick in these playoffs. If we do, I think we'll do better than last time, and I'm certain that our team deserves every bit of credit that has come their way. They're certainly a great group.
Before we end, is there anything you would like to add or any more information we should know about you?
No, I don't think you need to know anything about me. I think the thing we ought to do is just make sure we get up to North Penn or North Pocono in a week from Saturday and get everybody there in order to get this team to bring back another victory for us.
Thank you, Mr. Breslin, for your time, and I hope in the future we'll be able to talk again.
Well, I certainly will be glad to come back after the next victory we have. Thank you.
So until then, this has been Val Zabicki with Mr. Jerry Breslin for WKMCTV.